All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Adrienne Leosa, and I am the managing partner of Treaty Oak Properties. Treaty Oak is a residential property management company in the Austin metro area. We manage about 325 doors right now. Joining me this morning are a few of our staff members. We've got Stephanie Gallegos with us. She's another property manager at Treaty Oak. And then we also have Alyssa Conway. She helps us with our move-in walkthroughs with our tenants, all things tenants related. She makes the tenant experience excellent. Thank you for joining us this morning, Alyssa. Also, I wanted to explain a few things about the webinar. At the bottom of the screen, there is a little hand, and it looks like this. You guys are welcome to raise your hand during this, ask questions, also utilize the chat. If you guys would like, Stephanie is going to be monitoring the chat and the raised hands. She's also going to be admitting people as they are joining. I'm going to have the chat kind of open also, but I'm going to focus on my notes and all the different notes I have for this. So anyway, that's how we're going to do this. My last webinar was about an hour. I'm not sure if this will go for an hour or not, but I appreciate you guys being with us again. I think we might do a Q&A at the end, maybe not. I'm going to start, again, the topic of this webinar is leasing post-NAR settlement, which is kind of interesting. Who am I? I am a property manager. I have been in the business since 2009. I got licensed in 2011. I love what I do. I am a high volume leasing agent. Also, Treaty Oak on average leases about 100 properties a year. I think we're at 107 so far this year. So that is what I do. I love talking about property management. I love talking about leasing. I love talking about providing value to my clients. That is what I do day in and day out. That is my focus. My focus is providing habitable and safe homes to the tenants that we rent to. My expertise is providing value to my landlord clients and ensuring that their properties are well cared for and that they understand how this all works and that they understand what the leasing market and the rental market is like in the Austin area. And so that's what I do. And I am a positive person. I'm a motivating person. And so I think you guys are going to get some of that from me today. There has been a lot of sort of fear dialogue associated with the NAR settlement, and I am not a fear instigator. I am a happy lady, which you might not come across in property management very much. But so that's what you'll hear from me. What I am not also, in addition to not being a fear instigator, is I am not an attorney. I do not work for the Austin Board of Realtors. I'm not here to give legal advice. What I'm here to chat about today, and hopefully we can open it up for Q&A dialogue because I love Q&A, is we want to talk about best practices post-NAR settlement. And for the most part, those are still all of the best practices that we were doing before as they pertain to leasing. Leasing is a very unique aspect of the real estate market, but I think to continue to talk about the NAR settlement and just firm up what it was about, it was not related to leasing in any way. This had to do with other things. The attorneys involved that were involved with the NAR settlement were certainly watching the real estate industry, but they were entirely focused on sales. If you or I have connected in a conversation about leasing as it pertains to the NAR settlement, I like to say that there are a lot less zeros involved in compensation as it relates to leasing versus a real estate sales transaction, right? And so in the wake of the NAR settlement, it appears as though leasing and property management were addressed as an afterthought unfortunately. We're kind of looped in with everyone else, and so that's kind of left to deal with, and that's what we're left to navigate as a community. So the vast majority of lawsuits regarding leasing and property management really have to do more with fair housing or property condition. I have never seen a lawsuit really over tenant rep or landlord compensation or commissions, right? You'll hear a lot of instructors perhaps overstate different liability and risks because fear sells a lot, and I am anti-fear, right? So I just wanted to address those things. It's unfortunate that we kind of got looped in this in some ways. And I think that we can kind of feel that as leasing experts. I think we can see that within the forms that we've been provided, buyer/tenant rep, okay, great. So what I'm going to continue to focus on is talking about providing value to my landlord clients and providing value to our tenants that we rep, and what that looks like and how we continue to best serve the community. I'm involved in a lot of the Facebook forums, and I see a lot of dialogue about my fellow leasing experts and what they say, posts such as, I'm looking for a home for a single parent, a few kids, immediate need, urgency, several, dogs, questions about real nitty gritty stuff like immediate, urgent human needs, which is housing. And so I want to let you guys know as leasing specialists that I respect what you do so much. And arguably, we are the most impassioned and compassionate, public servants almost that there might be. And so I see you guys. I appreciate you very much for the hard work that you do in our community. With that being said, I'm going to talk about why leasing is so important. Leasing helps with immediate housing needs. Also, within our community, leasing serves as a fabulous training tool. I think that JB Goodwin, I don't know if Kelly is in this meeting today or not, but I know that JB Goodwin, for example, has an incredible training offering for their agents as it pertains to leasing. Leasing is often someone's segue into the real estate world. My business partner got started as an apartment locator. Leasing, kind of at the nitty gritty, shows you how to how do we talk to people in person? What do we do with our keys? How do we use this e-key app? Unlocking the door, turning all the lights on, turning the lights off. What do we do when their cockroach runs across our feet, in a vacant unit for 90 days? That's probably never happened to anyone on this call. But anyway, leasing is really great. It gets you out there. You talk with people. There's a lot of quantity associated with leasing, and so sometimes you can really stack your day up, moving real quickly. And so leasing is a fabulous tool within our profession. And again, I cannot reiterate enough how much I appreciate those that do perform leasing in our community. So with that in mind, tenant reps, leasing agents, landlord reps, we all need to have a tight process in place. If you didn't have one before, you need to have one in place. And so we'll start with saying, follow your broker's policies, right? Refer to your broker and their policies as they pertain to leasing, in particular, post-NAR settlement. Okay. If you are a broker and you are trying to form what your policy is now, or haven't, spent a lot of time doing this, I'm going to supply with you guys at the end of this webinar a link to the NARPM, National Association of Residential Property Managers. They hosted a webinar with our Texas Association of Realtors Associate Counsel, i.e., read that as the person who puts together our forms, right? Her name's Gabby Amaya. She's really fabulous. I've met her in person. She did an hour-long webinar on the forms in particular and best practices as it pertains to these forms. One of the really interesting pieces of information that she provided us with in that webinar, and I've actually listened to 2 webinars of hers now as it pertains to the NAR settlement, but what's been really interesting about her feedback and helpful to me in navigating as a property manager is that they are coming out with a new property management agreement in January 2025. They should have the bone structure, as they call it, or perhaps the blueprints of what that form looks like. I think ready for us perhaps in October, ready for them to kind of look and analyze. So she seems extremely excited about the way that that property management agreement reads. I personally am very excited about the property management agreement that's coming out. I know that some of you who perform a lot of leasing might also be doing property management for a few select clients on the side. You also might be just a property manager colleague of mine that's joining us. I saw Lacey Hendricks from San Antonio with Hendricks Property Management just joined the call a few minutes ago. So one thing that I have noted, and one of the common questions for property managers has been, do we need to amend our current property management? We always need to use the most up-to-date form in zip forms or that TXR provides, right? So that has always been the rule. So as you sign new clients, she explained that we will, you want to obviously use the newest form. The property management agreement form was updated this year. It removed a few sections. The property management, if you guys want to take a look at it, I've got, just so you guys know, Stephanie printed everything out for me today, beautifully highlighted, so I can reference everything. But the property management agreement is form TXR 2201. So they will be updating that in January. It has already been updated this year in 2024. One thing that a lot of people don't understand or aren't aware of is that the property management agreement also functions as an exclusive right to lease and also includes verbiage regarding sales. So I will not be updating those with my existing client relationship. In 2025, when that new PMA rolls out, I think I'm probably going to have all of my existing clients sign that one. And then, of course, the new clients that come in have them sign that as well. So I did want to touch over those things. But again, to reiterate, follow your broker's policies as they pertain to post-NAR settlement. Again, this is just what I think the focus should be on and what best practices, providing value to clients, things like that. From the lease listing standpoint, and this is my this is kind of my baby and my favorite thing to talk about, is how do we provide value to our landlord clients, right? Whether it be you're a property manager or you're perhaps putting a property on the market for lease for a client who's going to self-manage. I know several of the agents that are here in this call today have a little pocket of owners who love to self-manage. They've kind of got their own systems and processes going on. And so they'll handle the whole portfolio of leasing for them. And so that's fabulous. And so we always talk about providing value to those clients. Number one thing that I do for my landlord clients is to set their expectations on the rental market and the rental temperature as it pertains to the Austin metro area. I know that all of us that have been involved in sales or leasing have understood this sort of adjustment that we've seen in our market that has, it started at the end of 2022. Mortgage interest rates went up significantly, and it's been somewhat of a domino effect as it pertains to lease listings. So explaining to owners what the market is, and that is that we have a ton of inventory and lease listing prices have been going backwards. Explaining that to our clients lets them understand kind of what we're dealing with and lets them understand what tenants are presented with as they are searching for new properties to rent, right? So if we have a lot of inventory on the market, that means that tenant clients have a ton of options. And so when it comes to listing these properties for lease, what are some of the things that we're offering and that we're seeing? It's recommended that we have, for me, have all your appliances in place. Washers and dryers are great. People who are moving across the country have expensive moving costs. People moving across town have expensive moving costs. People just existing have expensive costs right now. Fair enough to say it is expensive out there. And so understanding what's going on and not being disconnected from what our tenant clients are looking for is the number one way we can set expectations for our clients and provide value to our landlord clients, right? Let them know these people have options, so we need to put our best foot forward. The other thing that Stephanie and Alyssa and I talk about as we put these properties on the market for lease, and again, we've had about 107 lease listings this year that we've leased, and so that's a good, healthy amount. And what we're seeing, and again, the leases that we have, they range from $14.95 a month, maybe, all the way up to $5,000-$6,000 a month. So we've got a really great pulse on the general clientele for tenants, right? And so I have noticed that properties with, for example, a lot of yard maintenance, a lot of pool maintenance, extra expenses on the tenant side are unfavorable to listings these days. And so I like to let my clients know, hey, I know that in past years, perhaps you haven't covered the pool maintenance, or in past years, perhaps you haven't had, a bi-monthly mowing covered by you. Have you put any thought into that this year? Just letting them know what people are looking for and what they're not wanting to spend money on. One of the most unique things that we notice within the properties that we manage, and we notice this on our annual inspections, is that a lot of tenants don't hang pictures on the wall. They don't hang their TVs. They don't mount them. They are great stewards of our clients' rental properties. And that is because they want their security deposits back. Okay. They want them back and they want to reuse that. The security deposits are a tenant's money. We do not tap into those things and they want them back. We are working on a little gifting opportunity next year for our tenants who do receive 100% of their security deposit back. We didn't know what that is, but we are working on that because that is a fabulous, encouraging factor for tenants to keep in mind on the move out, right? Let's clean it. Let's have it ready to go so that we can eliminate vacancy for the landlord and move on and get our full security deposit back fast, right? So these are all ways that we can continue to provide value for our landlord clients. Preparing the approval requirements for applicants as they come in. This is really important for those lease listing agents who may not do leasing very often, but perhaps you have a unique outlier client where we have what we call perhaps a failed sale this year. You want to try and recoup some of your marketing expenses perhaps, and so you're going to take on that property as a leasing client. I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to set your approval requirements in advance and then also let your client know what they are and have your client sign off on them. This makes approving and denying applications pretty seamless. It takes a lot of the guesswork out. Also, we have to adhere to fair housing. Okay, number one. And so that's why it is imperative that we understand and put together approval requirements before we go on the market, because then what happens, we are not providing value to our client as the landlord if we are not setting expectations to those that are coming to look at the property, right? Understanding the lease terms that you're offering. One of the biggest deal killers is not setting expectations on what the lease term might be, how long we're going to allow for a tenant to stay in there, et cetera. Going through the application process, receiving, the application fee, processing everything, getting the rental history, going through all this work that you're doing, and then sending the lease over and it blowing up because they're not aware of, the lease terms that you're going to offer. And so having all of your ducks in a row for your landlord client incredible way to provide value. It seems like we should be doing this, but sometimes we're not. So this is just an encouragement to continue. If you already are doing this, you are doing excellent. And so please keep up the great work. Great marketing photos too. You know, you always want to put your best foot forward, especially when there's so much inventory out there. We want our properties to look great. These are all ways that you can continue to prove value to your landlord client. The iteration of it being of a lot of the tenant market being very conservative with expenses and things like that is another thing for your landlord to keep in mind as we consider compensation and things like that. So we can transition a little bit over to providing value on the tenant rep side, because I know a lot of you guys do this. I speak in my office, communicates with a lot of tenant reps, and you guys are really hard workers, and I appreciate you so much. I did hear, and I do hear, I do have Q&As that were submitted for this webinar that I will go over also. So in the questions that were submitted, there seemed to be some confusion, you know, over what kind of best practices are for a tenant rep. In the webinar that I watched with NARPM and the TXR Associate Council, I did see that they iterated that you don't have to have a tenant rep agreement, but I think that best practices are to, yes, get a tenant rep agreement signed with your client. I like the short form. I think it kind of cuts to the chase. The short form is TXR 1507. Again, follow your brokerage policies. This is just what I like. I like it because I think that I have a really good idea of how tenant rep works and the urgency behind that and the kind of fast-paced environment that you guys are operating in and what it takes to get a property lease. And so I personally, I like the short form. I can tell you that I have not been asked or approached by any of my existing clients as it pertains to compensation on the leasing side. So we cannot advertise, and obviously we all know the changes that have happened as a result of the NAR settlement, but I can let you guys know that most seasoned investors are accustomed to certain processes. A lot of the verbiage as it pertains to property management and leasing compensation or fees, right? The way that the property management agreement is structured leaves a little room for confusion. So now is a fabulous time to mention that ABOR will be hosting this Wednesday, 9/25. It's a 6 CE credit class. They are going to be hosting a leasing forms and contracts class. That's this Wednesday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I am working on changing my schedule just to go and see what people are asking. And I think it's online, guys. So anyway, we will share a link to that course. I certainly am appreciative to, but and again, we will share a link to that. We will also share a link to sign up for that class. We will also share a link to the webinar that I continue to reference with the NARPM Associate Council. So I wanted to put those things on your radar. Again, so pick back up, providing value to tenants. Setting people up on searches is always great, whether it's in sales or in tenant rep. On the flip side, understanding approval and application requirements as a tenant rep, arguably the best use of your time is clicking around on the MLS and identifying the approval requirements for a property. Understanding those approval requirements, and then having a great dialogue with your client about whether or not they meet those approval requirements. I know some of you experts out there have a pre-approval of your own that you guys work through with your clients. I think that is fabulous, and I commend you. Virtual high five to keep doing what you're doing. I think that that is fabulous, and thank you guys for understanding that. What I dislike seeing is people who apply for properties spending their $55 a pop on an application and then just missing the approval requirements, just missing them, completely. And I don't think that that's beneficial to anyone. And so providing value to your tenants, understanding $55 adds up, just sort of like at the baseline, guys, golden rule. Make sure that we are treating others the way that we want to be treated. Make sure that we're explaining this to them. So that would be my suggestion if you are not already doing that. Discuss the application fees and how ensuring approval requirements are met before they apply. I see often that people who have properties up for lease do not refund application fees at all. And so that's unfortunate. But continuing to provide value to your tenants, I say, just keep doing what you guys are doing. One of the things I love most about leasing agents, here's the call that I get a lot, or the text, or the email. Hey, Adrienne, is 123 Main Street still available? Okay, still available. You guys have any apps? Okay, all right, no apps. Okay, cool. And in that communication, I say, or you might ask, are you guys doing compensation? Yep. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you so much for showing. If you guys send me something like that, you will also, most people get from me a "let's lease it" in all caps and exclamation marks, right? I love to lease properties. And so that continued communication, I will say a lot of property management companies get some feedback. I certainly have gotten this feedback before as a property manager. We've got a phone tree on the incoming line. That phone tree is monitored by us, but with 500 plus tenants, 150 landlords, all the leasing agents that are showing properties, it's really hard to have somebody just answering the phone all day long. And so we monitor those voicemails that come in. We try to get back to people within 2 hours. So give us a call. My personal cell phone number, I will share it with all of you guys. It's 512-913-0870. Stephanie, I'll put it in the chat. Also, you guys can text me literally at any point in time. Ask me about our listings, ask if we have questions, and I'm always happy to answer that as they come through. So just continue communication. Hey, guys, got any apps? Is this one still available before I show? Okay, cool. Do you guys accept X, Y, and Z is usually a follow-up question. So continue doing what you're doing as it pertains to that stuff. And I think you guys are on the right track. Don't operate out of fear. Show the property to your client, connect with a property management company, always leave a message. Those voicemails are usually going to people's emails. Sometimes they're being texted to other people. So definitely always leave a voicemail. Moving forward, we can talk about we talked about 1507. We did touch on that. That again is the residential buyer tenant representation agreement. That's the short form. I really like that one a lot. I think it kind of cuts to the chase. I did have, and we can kind of move into some of the Q&A that was submitted in the web forms. I received a lot of thank yous and no questions at this time, which I think is fabulous, right? I think that leasing agents are resourceful. I think that they are highly competent and highly efficient, and I think you guys are crushing it. And so I'm probably not telling you guys things that you already know in this meeting, but that's okay. One of the questions about treaty, I did get a couple questions about Treaty Oak. I'll go ahead and touch on those really quickly. Do I sell properties or do I lease and manage only at Treaty Oak? So at Treaty Oak, we are a full service property management company as that relates to the landlord client. So what that means is we handle leasing, maintenance, everything, 1099 reporting, accounting. This is a hands-off experience for the landlord. Okay. But we do not sell properties. If you know me and you know my background, you know that I used to be in sales. I specialize in residential investment property sales. We have probably sold a duplex or a fourplex together, maybe many. I have stopped participating in real estate sales transactions. No one at Treaty Oak Properties, none of my employees participate in real estate sales transactions. What we do is we take really great care of your client, and then we turn them back to you when it comes time to understanding, market value analysis for that property. When it comes time to sell, there are no caveats in my management agreement as it pertains to selling. There's no fee involved, nothing. So we do full service property management for landlords. We do not do a la carte leasing, meaning we only do leasing as it pertains to our property management client. So if we're managing for you, then we are also doing the leasing. Sometimes a agent will refer their client to us. They've already got the property on the market for lease. That's cool. We can try to support you during that. Sorry, I saw Stacy put something. So we will try to support you during the lease listing that you guys have already, and then we will work to onboard that client into Treaty Oak. So just a couple things about what we do at Treaty Oak. Stacy, did you say we are not required to sign a buyer's rep agreement when showing a property? I am not advising you on anything, just to be super clear. I am not your broker. So you want to follow your broker's policies. What I was referring to, and I've shared the link already in here, is to the San Antonio NARPM, National Association of Residential Property Managers. They had a webinar a few weeks ago. And in that webinar, they had Gabby Amaya, who is our associate counsel with the Texas Association of Realtors. They iterated that it was not required to show a property. I am suggesting that best practices is to have a buyer rep agreement signed to show properties and protect yourself. So I just wanted to clarify that. Stacy, also, thanks for asking that question. I have also, or Stephanie has added Gabby's email address in here. She is fabulous. I like her a lot. That's a tough job to have, by the way. And so I have found her to be a really approachable, tangible gal. I've been wanting to take her out to lunch for a long time. And so it's my goal to do that before the end of this year, but she's so nice. So I'd encourage you guys to connect with her. Any form requests that you have, she's putting together, all of these TXR forms for us, right? She's on the council for that. And so voicing your opinion, voicing your feedback, I think is a fabulous way to continue communicating. I know you guys can do it. You guys are excellent communicators. So anyway, her email address is there. Really nice lady. So reach out to her. Thanks for asking, Stacy. Couple of other questions that I saw come through. Are we seeing significant changes with showings? No, not at all. I haven't. In fact, arguably, I would say this month, what was it, 2 weekends ago, Stephanie? We were flooded with applications for some of our straggler lease listings, honestly. And I heard that general consensus from a lot of people in the industry. So same with you, Dane, right? Thank God. Here goes Lacey. Thank you, Lacey. See, this is why I shouldn't watch the chat. So again, yeah, we were inundated with applications for some of our straggler lease listings, some of the more unique properties that we had on the market. And we were thrilled to see those come through. So now that, as you guys all know, all the experts here as it pertains to leasing, leasing is very seasonal. Some people in this group, as you guys were all experts here, some of the people here might argue that leasing lasts through July. I am adamant that leasing lasts March through June, leasing season, right? Where rental demand is at its highest and then it tapers off as school started. We had a massive uptick after Labor Day weekend. And that usually happens too before people settle into the holidays. But you can assume that leases are going to expire every single month, right? So people are still moving. We're still having major life events. But so to answer that question, are we seeing significant changes with showings? No. Same with Rachel. Yes. Isn't that awesome? Okay. I love hearing all this stuff. So, Okie dokie. Lacey, to speak about Gabby, the TXR Associate Counsel that I mentioned, she said specifically asked if you have feedback for the new property management agreement to please let her know via email, and it will be considered by the task force that's been working on the PMA draft. That's great feedback. I'm certainly going to email them. And I'm sure you have too, Lacey. Alex, maybe different in other markets, but Austin Board of Realtors now requires realtors to have a signed agreement with tenants before showing an MLS lease listing. If you're showing your own lease listing, a tenant agreement is not needed. Nope. Right. So again, they were participating in the San Antonio NARFM chapter, and so they've got SABOR over there. ABOR is, of course, completely different. Again, and there may be people, like I said, we have people from San Antonio on this call too, so always refer to your own Board of Realtors, your own MLS as the authority, and of course, your own brokers and broker policy. Alex, are you available to chat in here? If you are, will you unmute yourself? Maybe, maybe not. I just wanted to hear how things worked out. Oh, hi, Alex. Hey, how are you?
Hey, thanks. How are you?
Good, I'm great. Thank you. I'm just was curious how things are going and how people have been receptive on what they said at ABOR. And I know that Emily hosted a meeting last week also, having the sign agreement with tenants. How's that been going for you?
I've mostly just been showing my own lease listing so far, so I'm still kind of curious to test that out and been kind of updating my systems to prepare for that. But yeah, I've kind of been brainstorming how to do that, and I don't want to overcomplicate it because I know tenants are going to be even more sensitive than buyers probably to signing an agreement with compensation. So
yeah, they are. I think they also have Form 1417, which is the representation disclosure. So if they're your lease listings and you're representing the client, you might just have the representation disclosure signed. Have you put any thought into that? I think it's kind of an interesting scenario, isn't it? And again, a reiteration of how leasing has kind of been left as an afterthought, but I appreciate any feedback you might have on that.
yeah, I think we are definitely disclosing who we represent as part of the online tour booking process. That form you referenced, that's a good option as well for disclosing that.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Well, good luck with all your lease listings. I know that we have had some. Have you had activity on your lease listings since after Labor Day?
Slowed down recently. Had some leads. It's been slower for tours though, for sure.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck with all your stuff. Thanks for the impromptu participation. I really appreciate it, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Lacey in the chat. That's what we do when showing our own listings, right? 1417. So if you're showing your own listing, that means that your relationship is with the client. Your client is a landlord, right? And so in most scenarios, you would simply do the representation disclosure, which discloses who your client is, right? Let's see. Thank you. Thanks, Lacey. Feel free to unmute and jump in at any point, Lacey, if you'd like to. Again, Lacey Hendricks is with Hendricks Property Management in San Antonio, longtime colleague of mine. She's fabulous. Lisa, I'm having a bit of an issue with leads signing the agreement. I think the short form may be helpful in offering a day agreement or property specific agreement, whatever works for you guys, right? Every client honestly is going to be different. I like the short form a lot. If it's just a few hours, okay, guys, still have that phone call. Like I mentioned, hey, any apps available, property still available, or any apps, property still available. Are you guys doing any compensation? I think that is always awesome and helpful. Oh, sorry, Lacey. Okay, no problem. Other questions? Do you think agents who do not practice property management but provide leasing services for a client should charge an admin fee? Well, no. But this, I'm not sure if you submitted this question. I'd love to have you participate, or maybe you're just going to catch the webinar. I, as a general rule of thumb, don't charge any fees at all. Outside of lease listing, and then my monthly management fee. In terms of an administrative fee outside of compensation? I'm not sure. That was kind of an interesting question. So outside of listing compensation, no, I don't charge an administrative fee. I do collect the application fee, as most people do, but no, I also don't charge my tenants for any of those, tenant service, like tenant requirements. What are they called, Steph? The like the tenant
like the tech fees.
tech fees, right? I don't do that. And in fact, I absorb those. We use a property management software called Appfolio. It's publicly traded software system. It's great. It's all encompassing. I pay my owners through there. I collect rent through there. They have recently changed their fee structure and cost structure, and I just absorbed all of those for our tenants. I'm not gonna charge them anything in addition to that. When is it appropriate? I think that when a realtor shows their personal investment property for lease to an unrepresented customer, when there is no compensation, is it required to have the leasing customer sign a form? Let's say use your best judgment, but I don't think so, guys. That was a little I don't think so. I mean, if it's your own lease listing, you understand what you're doing. You don't have an agreement with yourself, right? You're your own client. So, again, follow the golden rule is one of the things that is continuously reiterated to us within this market. So, within our industry, within our profession, follow the golden rule. So, let's see. How do you manage third-party income verifiers? Do you require the applicant to pay up front? So, Jason, I mentioned I use Appfolio. So that also handles all of our application process. So it links to our website through the application. We have a hyperlink. They can follow that, and then it comes through me through Appfolio. And so the third-party income verifiers are incorporated within the offerings that Appfolio provides us. So Appfolio is not inexpensive. I don't recommend it if you're just managing a few properties. If you are managing a few properties and you want some sort of software like that, I think Buildium's a nice one. I hope that answers your question, Jason. I'm sorry. In general, the application is paid through Appfolio. I know a lot of people use Go for Rent or Rent Spree, I believe also. So I hope that answers your questions. Any other questions? I didn't see any stuff. Are there any hands raised at all? No. That's great because I feel like I'm telling you guys things. Companies like HEB that require a payment before they release employment information. Okay, got it. So within the approval requirements, we have a few ways that you can prove income, right? I, in general, don't often sign up for those third-party companies where we have to, become a member of their platform or $45 a pop to verify income. What you can do is, it depends on your approval requirements, right? But what we've worked into our approval requirements is allowing a few different offerings. So for income, what they do is we can do like tax returns for 2023 or something like that versus pay stubs. A pay stub would obviously be proof of employment. We also, which is really interesting, now that I'm thinking about it, to get specific about HEB, I've got 2 roommates on one of my duplexes in South Austin that both work at an HEB, and they provided me with pay stubs. One is one stalks at night and the other one works in the deli. And then I have another one in North Austin, and she is a cake decorator at HEB. Don't ask me how I remember these things, but it is valid. So I have seen those pay stubs coming in. HEB is a very friendly company. So it's interesting that if they've changed their policies. It's been a couple months since I rented to them. So I will ask them to just provide their pay stubs. So I don't need anything further than pay stubs, I will say. And I did see HEB pay stubs. But in general, you might consider updating your approval requirements to have a little caveat for something like that. I, in general, don't like to make policies or procedures, Jason, out of like outlier scenarios, right? If that doesn't happen often, that a company requires you to sign up, and I know exactly what you're talking about now that you mention it, that doesn't require you to sign up and like submit $50 and become a member of this employment authorization, like subsidiary. I don't like to do it. And so I have tried to find ways around it. I hope that answers a little bit further, Jason. Sorry that you're running into that. I know that can be a headache. You might consider, I usually update my approval requirements at least once a year, sometimes every 6 months. If I'm starting to see things out in the market thanks, Jason. If I'm starting to see things out in the market that come up a lot, things change, right? I will update my approval requirements kind of like at the end of 6 months. We'll make a little running list in our office and we'll say, what are we seeing? What needs to be changed or updated? And we'll do that. Being a great leader, being a great expert, all these things require us to continue learning, right? So the most important thing I can do for my clients, for my employees, and for my staff is to continue learning and educating myself and following things that are changing in our market. I send out my newsletter, for example, and I try to let you guys know the monthly newsletter. Yes, it has the Austin metro area real estate stats. We're following that. But other things that I'm seeing, the questions I'm being asked, like I absorb that and I think about it. Like at night, it keeps me up at night thinking about these things. So I encourage you guys to do the same stuff. Scott, do you charge a required concierge service package? It seems to pop up more as a lease requirement. No, Scott, I don't like to charge the tenants anything extra. I don't find, and I'll take it back a few additional steps. I don't find a lot of benefits in those services. One that I looked into recently was a utility sign-up service, concierge service. I know some people find those helpful, but there's always a kickback. Often there's a kickback. I think he means a few different things. And Lacey, so my approach to a resident benefits package, all of these things, all of these additional fees, even down to any additional dollars or cents that Appfolio will charge a tenant to pay rent, I don't buy into and I don't participate in, right? I apply the same theory to the way that I represent my landlord clients. I don't have hidden fees. We have a 30-day out in our property management agreement. If you're not happy with us, we want you to be happy. We want your needs to be best met. And if they're not being met with us, there's no reason to wrangle people into other fees. So that is always going to be my approach and my stance. In the property management world, in the leasing world, resident benefits packages, the AC filter delivery, utility setup services. I did look into the utility setup services, just one that was offered, and there are kickbacks if you sign up with certain specific Wi-Fi. It's on the internet, right? On the internet side of things, that's how you get some kickbacks there. So with that being said, even when it comes down to maintenance at Treaty Oak, we don't ever mark up maintenance. We're just a pass through, right? I like to focus on providing value to my clients in so many other ways and making money in so many other ways than imposing these other things. Now, if I found something that came across that was truly beneficial after a whole bunch of market research, and things like that, then I would implement it if it was for the better good. Legal. Listen, I don't think that, oh, Steve is in this, Steve Crossland. This service providers pester, bother, and annoy your tenants trying to sell them other stuff. I love that Steve Crossland is in this meeting. Thank you so much, Steve. Steve Crossland is an incredible expert in property management, just like Lacey is too. So I'm thrilled that you guys are in here in joining today. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them. Everybody has differing opinions. I think I see a lot of people include it in the marketing. Because I don't offer resident benefits packages, I'm actually now curious to identify whether or not those are allowed to be advertised in the MLS. I think maybe, and I think maybe Lacey can tell us more about that, but she's with Sabor. So anyway, I don't want to get into too nitty gritty. I think I've made my point. Are there any other questions that I can, now we're at 10:51. Are there any questions that I haven't answered? Again, I want to reiterate, refer to your broker's policies, email Gabby and Maya if you have questions specifically also about that property management agreement. Make yourself heard with the Austin Board of Realtors and with Texas Association of Realtors. Again, there is a leasing class this Wednesday, 9/25. I believe it is virtual, and I believe it is 6 CE, continuing education credits. Sounds really interesting. Sounds like, and if you guys are here on this webinar, sounds like you might also benefit from that as well. I think everyone can. We want to continue educating ourselves. So just to consolidate from today, I will say that do not react out of fear that you will not get paid. We all have heard horror stories or two relating to like chasing lease commissions, right? I hear some from apartment complex, from anyone, right? I know for me, we pay 30 days post lease commencement date so that we are truly able to collect enough money to pay your commission, right? And so I get some medium feedback pertaining to those practices as well. But do not operate out of fear. Continue to provide all the value that I know that you guys have been providing. I can't thank you guys enough again for being fabulous colleagues in the leasing world. You guys are true professionals, and I appreciate you tremendously, and so does our staff. So I wanted to thank you guys again. I highly respect all of you. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention is, again, the likelihood of being burnt was always there. Do not operate out of fear. Keep providing value to your clients. Follow the golden rule. Keep yourself educated and informed. Couple last questions. Thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate that. Jason, what service would be a no-no for a leasing agent who's not a PM providing for a leasing client? I don't know, Jason. What services would be a no-no for a leasing agent who is not a PM? Oh, as it pertains to like coordinating maintenance and things like that. I mean, that's a lot of that is within your personal boundaries, right? I do leasing for those who don't lease or property management like as their core base in their profession. I do hear a lot of feedback of the clients kind of extending, that request of like, oh, and can you also have the property rekeyed for me? Can you also do, can you do one last lawn mow? Things like that. So informing your client of your services is really important, what those entail, what those don't entail. And then I would probably say, listen, that falls into property management. I am doing leasing. If it is a great client, you can send them to Treaty Oak Properties if you want, Jason. And I'll talk to him. I'm just kidding, but you want to set your own boundaries. Jason, if you want to hop on a call, I'm going to put my cell phone in here, and all of you guys can save it, text me anytime. I do know that if you Google Adrienne Leosa's cell phone, it appears in Google. People call me all the time. You guys can also, I'll go ahead and I'll pin it for you guys up at the top. and save it. You guys, let's schedule a call or an email or go out to coffee. I'm always here and available to do those things. I do not do short STR management. I might have a referral for that. We're full service, long-term hold property management at Treaty Oak. So any other questions? You guys have my email. I am going to send this recording out to everyone. I greatly appreciate the turnout for all you guys. So thank you again so much. Thanks again, Alex, for jumping in and providing a little feedback today too. And Lacey, thank you for participating. And Stephanie and Alyssa, I appreciate you guys so much. So have a wonderful day. Let's lease some properties. Have a great day, guys.